So now we're going to talk about the Freeze Pulse Hydra build. Welcome back, everybody, to another Path of Diablo build guide. Today we are actually going to be talking about the Freeze Pulse Hydra build that I've been playing. I actually really like this build. I started off with Blizzard, and I switched over to Freeze Pulse, and I love it. It's definitely not as safe as Blizzard, or not even as safe as Frozen Orb, but the DPS on it is beautiful. It actually is a FCR-based skill, which meaning there's no cooldown, it's all based on your FCR. So, whereas Blizzard and Frozen Orb, they have cooldowns. So let me show you a quick demonstration of, let's see, what's a good place real quick? Maybe Ancient Tunnels, or even this place. Now, this is not really a mapping setup. It's good for, like, rushing bosses. It's good for, like, key farming. So keep in mind, that is what I've set this character up to do. Also, it's actually excellent. Hold on, I definitely have to show you this because this is worth mentioning. It is an excellent Arcane Sanctuary farmer. This is hardcore, by the way, so this is my hardcore setup. I also have a softcore setup as well, but it is excellent at Arcane Sanctuary farming for like high runes and stuff like that. So, yeah. We'll see if we get like a quick high rune here or something. But one, because you can key farm. Two, because you can hit the chests. And because of the Path of Diablo, like no drop or players 8 drops, it's like really nice. So, anyways, it's a P1 build for the most part. So this is a quick demo. Let's talk about the gear real quick. So over here we have Hodo. You can also use, now this is risky. We're going to talk about hardcore and softcore, but on hardcore, it's a little risky, and I wouldn't recommend it in maps, but you can use Oculus. If you're key farming and you're feeling confident, you're in a good GS, Oculus can do the job. You'll be fine if you know what you're doing. Other than that, I recommend Hodo. It's a safer option on hardcore. On softcore, I use Oculus, and I put like MF jewels in it. You can also put Isrunes or whatever the hell you want in there. You can get up to 3 sockets on Oculus. It's awesome. I also have a rubied Shaco just for the extra life. We have a anti-perfect Maras that is CNC, so literally the worst Maras possible. We also have 10 FCR, 8 all res, mana. Mana is actually somewhat important on this build, and I'll get to that in a second. We also have, wow, this is actually a pretty bad ring. Dual res, MF, and life. It's not terrible, but you could definitely get better than that. Dungos, this is mostly just to be tanky. Again, this is my hardcore setup. So I have like max res, I have like a decent amount of life for a sorceress. And then we have Viper Magi, CNC. Obviously you can get better than this. I did quit the hardcore league relatively early, so I didn't have like a 4-sog of Viper Magi and all that stuff. Looks like we have a CNC Tragghouls. Again, cold res is nice. You could also go Mage Fist, obviously, because +1 to fire skills would help out the Hydra a bit. Honestly, though, the Hydra doesn't need help. Hydra is actually really badass in Path of Diablo. We have dual res, MF boots. You could honestly probably just run. Again, this isn't the most tanky. Like, it's not the tankiest build in the setup right now. Again, I didn't play that much. But you could use, like, Aldurs for more life. You could Tri-res, life, you know, hit recovery, all these different things you have options. Then we have Spirit. And that shouldn't be any big surprise. 35 FCR is really what you want, because then you won't have to put on like an extra ring here. Apparently I have a lot of FCR here with this setup. But again, not a min-max setup, whereas my softcore one is a little bit more. So, you know, play around with breakpoints. I highly recommend 105 FCR. 200, I think it's way too expensive. And 65, it's a little bit slow. Like, you can definitely get stuff done, but because your character or your freeze pulse is based off of your FCR, you're actually getting a lot more damage with 105 FCR. Also, I forgot that my webcam wasn't on. So, hi chat, hi people, hi YouTube. On swap, we have a memory. So that is because in Path of Diablo, mana burn doesn't just 100-0 you with your mana. Mana burn, like, kind of takes a chunk away, but it doesn't 100-0 you. So, energy shield actually becomes somewhat viable. So we have a base that's +3 to energy shield, so we're getting 9 to energy shield with this one staff. So we just swap it real quick. Something to be aware of though real quick is if you go down to 0 mana, your energy shield disappears. I believe that doesn't happen in vanilla, so just be aware of that. So little extra life, and that's where that ring comes in with 68 mana. It's kind of nice. So trying to tank up. I also use the same setup for softcore. It ends up being a lot better than CTA. The memory staff does. So also, I guess we'll quickly talk about the Merc. I have Fortitude, Talrashas. You want to make sure he has splash damage. I'm also using Insight, 1 that helps my energy shield, 2 Insight is just like infinite teleport. You know, it's a good item. It's a good cheap rune word. Insight's great. Charms. Not everything is min-maxed here, but mostly just life and res to cap, cold skills, and fire skills, basically. Also, apparently I don't have a Sorceress Torch. That's right, I'd never found a Sorceress Torch on hardcore. That's funny. So yeah. That's pretty much the gear. I guess we can talk about the skills now. So there's a few different options I actually played with the Freeze Pulse Hydra setup. Obviously, your main skill is Freeze Pulse. I'd recommend, personally, Freeze Pulse first, and Cold Mastery first, before you go into the synergies. Because every point, I believe, of Cold Mastery is worth more than just 5% cold damage per level. So, Cold Mastery does a little bit more. You're getting Pierce and you're getting damage, whereas you're just getting 5% with Freeze Pulse. Shiver Armor is what I use. I don't actually use Refrigerate. You could, but I don't use it. So, combination of Glacial Spike for AoE, Freeze, and then Ice Blast for like single target. Or, well, I don't really use, actually, I take that back. I don't actually use Ice Blast, I use Freeze Pulse. I was thinking my Blizzard setup for a second there. So yeah. If you want to freeze targets, Glacial Spike. If you want to chill targets, Freeze Pulse is nice because it actually like knocks targets back for a second. It doesn't knock them back, but it throws them into like FHR. So it gives you a second with like a stun, which is kind of nice. Buys you a little extra time. Lightning skills, kind of the usual 1 point, 1 point, and 1 point for teleport, telekinesis, and static. And then this part is the decision you can make. So I'd recommend like 1 point in Fire Mastery, and you could actually go 1 point Hydra. Granted, you know, 20 point Hydra can just carry. Like, let me show you 20 point Hydra real quick on Frigid. like, it just actually... That's only a 21 point investment, or, you know, I guess because of these skills, a little bit more than 21 points. 25 point investment, right? And I just, like, did pretty good for only having invested 25 points. So you could do that, or you could do 1 point Hydra with lower res, like I do on softcore, and a combination of that with your mercenary. Like, for example, when I'm key farming, like Countess, I do 1 point Hydra. I lower res and let my merc take care of everything else, and it works fine. So you could go 1 point Hydra, you could go 20 point Hydra. Now, what are you trading that off with? You're trading that off with freeze pulse damage. So, because on softcore, I only have 1 point Hydra, I get 20 more points into my synergies for freeze pulse. So on this, I'm only doing like 5.7k freeze pulse, whereas on softcore I'm doing like 8 or 9k or something like that. Again, I don't do as much fire damage, I do more cold damage there, but you know, it's up to you and what you want to go for. I'd say, you know, I've tried both of them work great. If you want to focus on one thing, awesome. So that's pretty much the skills. As far as the stats go, because we should talk about that, I have not min-maxed this. As you can see, I have 202 strength. So I actually don't need 202 strength. But I was playing around a little bit. I didn't have an extra respec. You know, if I was pluggy, I'd min-max it. But you should only need 156 strength for spirit. And then you just dump everything else into vitality, like most builds in the game. Try to make sure that your character is, you know, max res. And also try to hit the 105 FCR breakpoint. Try to get your hit recovery up, you know, as much as you can too. But honestly, spirit is like a... It's got 55 hit recovery. Do I need to say more, dude? Like, it's broken. So... yeah, that's pretty much the Freeze Pulse Hydra Sorc. Again, it's not necessarily the best for mapping. You can map with it. Like, I won't say you can't, but this is mostly like a key farmer, boss rusher, like rushing other people, grushers, you know, all those different things. But anyways, hope you enjoyed. Be sure to hit that follow button, the subscribe button, all that good stuff if you're interested. And check out my Twitch if you haven't already. Thank you guys, and hope you enjoyed the guide. More to come.